Yo, people, and welcome to another episode of Bricks with Tips. You're here with myself, Tayo, co-founder of Bricks with Tips, which is founded with my wife, Antoinette. Now, if you're new here and you don't know already, we founded Bricks with Tips about 6 years ago, and we've been dedicating to help first-time buyers get on the property ladder. We're also property investors ourselves with 10 years in the game as well. If you're returning, guys, you already know we're all about self-development, helping you guys get better with your property and your finance, and we're trying to get better too. As you can see, I've got a new microphone in place. I don't even know if this setup is correct. If this setup is correct, if you've got any audio specialists in here, please let me know in the comments below how this microphone is meant to be coming out. It's not covering my face, so I feel that's a good start. Naturally, you guys know as well, if you're returning here, you'll know that I'm a TV presenter as well. But when I'm on set, everything's done for me. This is a self setup. I haven't got an audio guide to come in. I've just bought this myself and installed it. Hopefully it provides a lot of value for you guys and allows you to hear what I'm saying a lot clearer, because I am aware that I speak fast. However, I'm also aware that I speak in a language that people understand, and that's why people return to Bricks with Tips. So with all of that being said, guys, I'm here to return to you guys today to speak about the whole home buying process in full. Now, we've done a video like this before on socials, but nothing primarily for YouTube, long form, landscape format effectively. And I think it's super important for two reasons, right? When you watch the other videos on our page, it's always important to understand where in the process that particular video fits into, and this video will help you understand that. The second thing is that we help a lot of first-time buyers, and one of the main challenges for first-time buyers isn't a deposit or a salary. It's always up here. And it's not your fault as well. The home buying process feels like a massive one, an overwhelming one where you don't know where to start. I often describe it as being lost at sea. You look left, right, back, and you just see ocean, right? You don't know where to start. Knowing the home buying process and how it works helps you know what's next. And we're super advocates of that. And that's how we help people get through the home buying process within the Home Buyers Club. So in this video in particular, I'm going to help you guys understand how the home buying process works. Hopefully, I'm going to make it sound easy and then tell you the steps that can be done to get through that process. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right, guys, so we're going to start off with credit. Now, if you haven't heard me say before, I see the home buying process as three main pillars: your credit, your mortgage, and your deposit. We start off with credit first because typically it involves habits and it doesn't take money. It means that everybody can start with credit as well. Credit can be one of the longest things to change as well. So if you do have a CCJ or something like that, it can take 6 years to come off. The other reason we start with credit as well is that we don't want you to start saving for a deposit or working towards a promotion to improve your salary and you've forgotten about credit, and then you do something that effectively has a negative impact on your credit and reverses all of the work that you've done around saving for a deposit and improving your salary. Saving for a deposit and improving your salary are quite well-known ways to work towards buying your first home effectively. So no one's really going to take a pay reduction if they know that they're going to buy a home, or no, anyone that's saving for a home isn't necessarily going to spend 5K on a bracelet, let's just say, when they know that they're saving towards a first home. But it's very, very normal, or it happens, it's not the right thing to do, but it's very, very normal for people to ignore credit. And what they'll do is that they'll take out a car on finance when they know that they want to buy a home in the next 12 months. So let's start off with our credit. And I always talk about assessing and improving your credit. The first step is assessing. You need to know where you're at and what you need to do. In the UK, there are three main credit referencing agencies. They are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Now, in the description below, I'm going to post links where you can get a free credit report from each of these people. It's good to have a look at them because sometimes they have different information, but once you've assessed that all the information is the same, you can stay with one of the providers if you choose. It's interesting as well because each lender uses a different credit referencing agency. So Halifax may use one, Santander may use another, Skipton Building Society may use another. So that's why it's also important to just check all three, especially if there's a free link to check them as well. Now, I want to make sure this video is about understanding the process. So I don't want to go into too much depth, but I will give you some tips on improving your credit as well. So for the people that already have credit, you already have existing credit, try and keep your credit utilization low. Credit utilization is the amount of credit you have available to you compared to what you're using. So if you've got a 10K credit limit, ideally you don't want to be up at 90%. which is like 9K out of the 10K that's available to you. You want to be like 10% and under, so below £1,000 if possible. The lower the credit utilization, the better. Also, if you have credit, rule number one, make sure you make all payments on time. Guys, a missed payment has detrimental effects. Make sure it's on time. Use direct debits as well. For those of you that don't have credit, sometimes a lack of credit history can harm you as well. If you don't have any adverse credit and you know that you are financially disciplined, one of the biggest tips you can use is getting a credit builder card. A credit builder card is a credit card that typically has a high interest rate, but they accept a lot of people. And what you'll do with a credit builder card, what a lot of people do with a credit builder card is that they'll spend a small amount, maybe just a Tesco shop, £40, £50, and they'll pay it off immediately. And what happens is that every single month on their credit file, they'll get a tick of credit history and payments made on time. Make sure you pay it in full so you don't accrue any interest, because credit builder cards typically hold high interest rates. Next up, determining how much you can afford. Now, you could do that online yourself, but the real way to do it is doing a decision in principle or an agreement in principle. Sometimes you'll see it said as a DIP or an AIP. Super, super important, guys. I always say to people that no matter if you're buying your first home or someone's buying their 100th home, they have to go through the decision in principle process. I always say, guys, no matter what, people buying their first home or their 100th home, they have to go through the decision and principle process. So you guys need to do it as well to determine how much you could afford. Guys, when it comes to a decision in principle, you don't need to wait until you're close to buying your home to get a decision in principle. Please, please, guys, hear me out. The reason I say that is that some people wait until they got their deposit, they got all of these bits and pieces, then they finally go and do a decision in principle, maybe 6 months before they ideally want to buy their home. And they realize that, oh, do you know what? There's this bit of salary that a lender actually won't consider. So your affordability is a lot less than you thought it would be. Or something's been spotted in your credit, or they don't like this, or they don't like that. Do the decision in principle early. I always say, if the decision in principle determines that all you can buy is a garage in South London, at least we know we can get a garage and we move from there. We then make steps towards what we need to do to buy a home. Understand? Comprende? Let's move forward. Now, when you've done your decision in principle, it allows you to start setting up a savings plan, or sometimes even a salary plan, and I'll get into that in a second. But in my mind, there are two types of plans you can have. There's an exact plan and an aspirational plan. I'm a big fan of an aspirational plan. I'm a big fan of people achieving stuff that they're not ready for. So if you're watching this video and you have zero deposit and you earn below the UK average, please keep watching, because this video is especially for you, because over at Bricks with Tips, we make aspirational plans. We don't make plans for things that we're already due. Do you get what I'm trying to say? We make plans for things that we want to achieve, basically, and we're here to help you get that. So what I mean by an exact plan is that you may do a decision in principle and it determines that, okay, you're able to borrow 360,000 and you want to buy for 400K and you've already got a 40K deposit. That's an exact plan. You already have, your salary already allows you to borrow 360 and you already have 40K and you want to buy for 400. There's nothing left to be done. You'll go straight on to the next step. And that's great for you. And I'm very, very happy that you're in that position and you've done amazingly well to get to that position. Just for a second, I want to speak to the people with an aspirational plan. You may want to buy for 400K as well. And your decision in principle is saying that you can borrow 250K and you've only got a 10K deposit. So now we've got some tweaking to do. We're going to create a savings plan now. And the savings plan is going to say that, do you know what, what are we aiming for? Is it a 10% deposit at 40K, or are we going to go for a 5% deposit at 20K, which will still allow us to buy, right? So we're going to look at the cons of potentially putting down a lower deposit. Are we comfortable with the cons? Have we put things in place to combat the cons that come with putting in a lower deposit? All right, cool. Now let's address the 250K. You're doing a project management course. What's that thing called? Guys, let me know in the comments what that project management course is called again. Something 3, something 2. Prince 2, am I correct? Let me know in the comments below. Prince 2, you're doing Prince 2 right now. When you do Prince 2, your salary is going to increase by 30%. Okay, cool. So let's do a dummy, let's look at what a lender might borrow you when you do have that salary increase. So we know with that salary increase, they might borrow you 380,000. So we know that if you can save 10,000 more and get to 20,000, we might actually get to the point where you can buy for 400K. But if not, If we only get to a point whereby a lender will lend you 320,000 instead of 380,000, we'll start adjusting where we're going to look for a property and so on and so forth. Guys, hopefully you're not confused by what I'm saying, but hopefully you've deduced by what I'm rambling on about right now is that there's always an option. But to understand options, we need to know where we're at today. So after we do the decision in principle, we start making a savings plan and a salary plan to start working towards our goal and finding out our exact budget. Next up, property search. Now, the property search is an interesting one. It's important to have your budget very, very early on in the property search. The reason why I say that is that your budget allows you to know exactly what you can buy. You don't want to have your heart set on something fully and then do your decision in principle and find out that you can't buy it anyway. And I'm talking about aspirational and exact budgets as well. So your property search is going to involve filters. Guys, you're going to go through a process where you're working out what you are happy paying for, what you're happy compromising on, and so on and so forth, basically. When you do that, you're going to boil it down to a few areas that you're happy to consider. Location is one of the biggest determining factors when it comes to buying your property and the price of your property. You already know that a 2-bedroom flat in Mayfair, it can be 2 million, but a 2-bedroom flat in Mansfield, I don't know, but it's not 2 million, I'll tell you that. So yeah, guys, your location is going to be the biggest thing that shifts based on your budget in most people's scenarios. So guys, put your property filters in and begin your property search. Guys, you want to get to a point whereby when you've put your filters in on Rightmove or Zoopla or On The Market or your preferred property search portal, you're aware of every property that's on the market within your filters. And you've considered every one of them, and for one reason or another, you've decided it's not for you. When you get to that point, it's great. The second point that you need to be at is a point where you've got daily alerts. So every day, a property that fits within your filters comes in, whether that's 3, 4, or 7 properties. That way, you only have to review 3, 4, or 7 properties per day. You view them, you decide whether you're discarding them or gonna go book a viewing on them effectively. If you find that there's too many properties, every day there's 30, 40, 50 properties coming into your daily alerts, you need to adjust your filters. Your filters aren't tight enough, basically. Got it? Comprende? Let's move on. Right, guys, we're going to go on to property viewings. Property viewings are super, super important. I'm going to put a link below where you can use one of our property viewing checklists if you'd like to. You can download that. It's a property viewing checklist that allows you to know what to look out for when you go for property viewings. Property viewings are super, super important. I'd say step in confidence, know exactly what you're looking for, research the area before you go. Things like the internet speed, the crime rates, how close the station is, the shops are, hospital, GP, schools, nurseries, parks, those kind of things. Try and do as much research as you can before the viewing, before you go on the viewing as well. And yeah, guys, viewings are exciting times. You're nearly there at a point of viewing. As I mentioned, this is just a process video to understand the process. I probably will do videos in the future, letting you know exactly what you need to do in these spaces as well. Right, guys, so you'll go for a few viewings and eventually you'll get to a point where you're ready to make an offer. If you're a negotiator, if you're trying to get a deal, the chances are there will be some negotiation in that process as well. But as you can see, this isn't far from where you got your decision in principle. So you can see that there are tangible steps that can be taken. Putting in your offer, you might be fortunate enough to put in your first offer and get a deal. You may find that you've been putting in offers for 2 weeks, 2 months until you finally get an offer accepted. Guys, when you get an offer accepted, you'll go back to your broker or advisor who got you the decision in principle. They will then do something called a full mortgage application. If your mortgage broker charges a fee, it's only at this point that they'll charge you their fee. And that's when they submit a full mortgage application. At the same time, your agent will send you a memorandum of sale. I would strongly advise you to get them to take the property off the market at that point as well. And then they'll also ask you to instruct your solicitors, and your solicitors will begin their work. Next up, solicitors process. So with the solicitor process, they will have they will do searches first. and they will have some inquiries for your vendor solicitors as well. Now, this can vary depending on the type of the property you're buying, depending on the rules around the property, the area, the local council, and so on and so forth. They're the expert in this space. One bit of advice from me to you is that if there is anything you don't understand in the conveyancing process, you are paying them a fee. Ask them. They studied for years to understand what they're sending you reports about. It's also their job. What you're paying them for is for you to be able to understand what they are talking about as well. So definitely ask. Don't just gloss over it. During the solicitor's process, your mortgage lender will send out someone to do a valuation on the property to make sure that it's adequate security for the loan. Basically, they just want to make sure that, hey, if you're buying this for 400K and we're giving you 360K, we need to go out and make sure this property is actually worth 400K so that if anything happens, we can reclaim the loan from the sale of the property effectively. So they'll do a mortgage valuation. Depending on the lender, you may pay for it or you may get it for free. Now, the mortgage valuation is for them to make sure that they're comfortable with the property. You also need to make sure that you're comfortable. Most first-time buyers will typically do a survey, and the survey what they'll do is a level 2-1 called a home buyer survey. Sometimes when people buy new builds, they'll do a level 1 survey or a snagging report. But typically, most first-time buyers will do a home buyer survey, a level 2 survey. Now, still in the conveyancing process, everything starts to happen over time, and hopefully everything starts to come into place. So what will happen is that your mortgage valuation will come through adequate. Shortly after that, your mortgage offer should come. That's when your lender said, yep, we're happy to offer you this £360,000. Hopefully your solicitor has like additional inquiries and they get all the inquiries satisfied. In the same process, you'll get your home buyers report. Hopefully you're happy with it. If you've got any questions for the existing vendors, you can send that through your solicitor. Sometimes when people get a survey, it presents a good chance to negotiate as well. And all of these things will be done. And then you can start asking about an exchange date, which is the date that you're going to exchange contracts and the process becomes legally binding. When you exchange, typically you complete a week after. So a week after that is completion when you're going to the estate agent and you'll go and pick up the keys for your first home. I will say though, guys, like when you finally pick up your keys, the keys don't look like what it looks like on Instagram. I'll be honest with you. They're normally a bundle of keys with some janky key ring on it. Guys, get your own key ring if you want it to feel special. Personalize the process as much as possible. At this point in time, you would have made a huge achievement. And hopefully if you're watching this video, that's going to be something that you're going to experience very, very soon. But hopefully that's been an educational video of how the whole home buying process goes. Guys, if you want some in-depth information on the action points that you can take as well to make this a reality for you, I'm hosting a webinar on the 5 steps anyone can take to buy their first home in the next 12 to 18 months. All you need to do is click on the link in the description, register for the webinar because there are limited spaces. We host them frequently, but only limited spaces. And the webinar is similar to this, but it gives you action points on what you can actually do because action points are so, so important. I often say the home buying process is built up of many, many little actions that are going to take you to the big action of buying your first home. But guys, that concludes this video. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments below. Also, let me know what other videos you want to see from myself. Is there anything in the news that you'd like me to break down? Anything property or finance wise? Please let me know in the comments below. The comments are super, super important to keep this channel going. And we'd love to keep this channel going for you. So please comment below. Even if you thought it was a good video, just say great video and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in to Bricks with Tips. Peace out.